Hello people, I hope you're sitting comfortably because this is the 10 things that I did, or the 10 things that I found most useful to help stop binge eating and actually get back on track, sort my life out and get out of this like terrible cycle that I was stuck in. My story with binge eating starts when I first did a competition, like a men's physique show, going on stage, taking off all your clothes, yada 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 yada. It's pretty much the standard to go into this like downward spiral of binge eating after you've done like a men's physique show or a heavy diet or a competition or whatever it is. And in the fitness industry, like it's an eating disorder. It is an eating disorder. It's not spoken about enough. I was hospitalized and I went on this crash diet afterwards, literally below 2,000 calories a day, starving myself. I was in a bad way. After the show, I had no goal, I had no clarity about what I wanted to do, I had nothing regarding like staying in shape, I didn't have a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, and then I just like absolutely went off the rails, the worst I'd ever done. And it took me a couple of months to actually stop doing this and get back on track. And I gained so much weight. I'd eat beyond the point of being full, I'd go to bed like still eating food, feeling sick, knowing that I can't actually physically fit anything else in my stomach, but then I'd still eat food. I'd go to the shops like in the middle of the night and then buy random crap food. The next day I'd feel terrible, I'd have shit sleep because of digestive issues, and then I'd over restrict calories to try and lose the weight because I could see my face getting fatter and fatter and fatter and getting like more of a belly, and then it'd stress me out more. And I basically got to a point where I developed like a full-on binge eating disorder because it wasn't like originally it might have been triggered by the diet and the calorie restriction and other things, but whenever I got stressed, whenever I got anxious, whenever I had like uncertainty and like a bit of anxiety, I would like go to food like such a fat kid, and then it would just set off this massive binge where I would end up wrecking my physique, eating shit, feeling absolutely terrible, and going to bed feeling like a complete and utter waste of space and a failure because I can't even adhere to a diet when it's meant to be my fucking job. And it basically got to a point where everything was fucked. And I was fat, I hated my life, and it wasn't good. Why do we binge eat? Why do we self-destruct? Why do we do something that we know is not good for us, that we feel terrible after doing? Why do we eat foods that we know we shouldn't be eating until we feel like we're gonna throw up and cry? Why do we do that to ourselves? When I first started eating food after the show, like, that was out of necessity, or that was out of hunger. That's because I'd starved myself for so long. But because I started getting into these habits of eating and eating and eating and eating and getting stressed about eating, and because I'm stressed about eating, I'd then eat more food to give me this dopamine spike or to make me feel good. Whenever I experience this cue that is like stress or anxiety or uncertainty or something like bothering me, or maybe or just like worry in my life, that will then in turn send me on this like downward spiral to binge eat, because my brain will be like, okay, you're stressed, have food as this comfort or this coping thing because it makes you feel good, but it actually makes you feel worse. So you get into this downward spiral where you feel stressed, you feel anxious, you crave food, you have the food. When you eat the food as you're eating it, you get this dopamine spike, you feel good momentarily as you're eating it. As soon as you stopped eating it, that subsides, you feel terrible, you feel shit again, and then you're actually lower than you were before, and then your brain's like, oh, I know what will make you feel better, food. So you go off and eat more food, get that little dopamine spike, and then you get this cycle of eat food, dopamine spike, dopamine dip because you feel terrible, because you just binge ate, because you just ruined your diet, because you just ate loads of crap food, and then you crave more crap food again. You get into this cycle where you're not eating because you're hungry, you're eating because you're craving that like feel good dopamine spike to make you feel less terrible in the state that you just put yourself in. It's like a negative snowball effect. Everything that we do, every like habit that we form is due to dopamine, this chemical in our brain, this neurotransmitter that makes us feel good, that makes us do certain things. So there's something called the dopamine-driven feedback loop, which is basically what I've spoken about. It's the way that we form habits. We get a trigger or a cue. In the case of binge eating, it's going to be stress. We get a craving, so that's going to be a craving for food. We have a response, which is going to get the food, and then we have a reward, which is food. The reward, I say the reward is food, but the reward is actually dopamine. So we get this dopamine-driven feedback loop, and it can be good or bad. It's the same as brushing your teeth in the morning. Any habit is all due to dopamine. Cue, craving, response, reward. These four things. So first of all, we have a cue, and in the case of binge eating, that's going to be stress, anxiety. We get a craving, which is going to be for food, and then we have a response, which is going to be to get the food, and then we have a reward, which is actually eating the food itself, and as we eat it, the reward is going to be a dopamine spike. Let's say you're stressed, you're anxious, you're worried, and then you eat food, you have dopamine, you feel good, and it kind of, those feelings subside or alleviates them, and then you get this dip because maybe you're like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that, or I shouldn't have binged, I've just ruined my diet, I'm gonna get fat. You feel bad, you feel negative. Your brain's like, I know what's gonna make you feel better. More food, gotta get that dopamine, gotta feel good. So then you'll eat more food, and then you'll get that dopamine spike again as you're eating it, and then afterwards you'll kind of come to your senses and be like, all right, what's happened here? I feel crap, why have I done that? And then you get in this cycle, this spiral of binge eating due to this like undulation or fluctuating in dopamine. It's the reason why you keep eating when you know that you're full. You like know that you're full, you know that you shouldn't eat, and it's like you're not in control. It's like you don't know why you're doing this, you don't know why you're eating, you just feel like you have to do it. And that's why it's like so damaging and so bad, because of this like dopamine, our brain effectively tricking us into being like, okay, you need this food to feel good. James Clear breaks down breaking a bad habit into 4 distinct categories. Number 1, make it invisible. Number 2, make it unattractive. Number 3, make it difficult. And number 4, make it unsatisfying. Whatever behavior you want to break, apply those 4 things to it. Under the make it invisible sphere, we've got number 1, which is don't buy it. And a lot of people are going to be like, no, you shouldn't restrict food and all this shit. Shut up. Like, if you're a heroin addict, you're not going to go and have heroin downstairs. Yeah, sure, after a few months when you've come out of rehab, you might be able to dabble a little bit. Like, fair enough, have your Snickers bar after you've overcome this problem of binge eating. But as we're trying to fix ourselves, if you binge on it, literally don't buy it. Simple. If you're opening a cupboard, and every time you open a cupboard to get a glass of water out, to get a drink, whatever it is, and you see this like bar of chocolate or this food staring at you in the face that you normally binge eat on, that is not going to be good for you on a conscious and a subconscious level. So that in itself, like actually visually seeing the food, can act as a cue to form a craving to start wanting that food, and then you eat it, and that can send you down this like binge eating cycle. Out of sight, out of mind. Put it somewhere you're not looking at all the time. Put it somewhere where it's not like readily in your face whenever you open the cupboard, because that could act as like a cue to like trigger you to go into a binging spiral. Make it difficult to obtain as well. It's another rule from James Clear. So for example, put it under the sink, somewhere you have to bend down to go and get it. Put it out in the garden shed. Go dig a hole in your garden and bury it 6 feet under the ground. Whatever floats your boat, you want to make it difficult for yourself to obtain, so you're not likely to do it when you're in this like impulsive mindset. Making it invisible, we've done that. Make it visible is a way that we can do good things. So number 3 is I'm going to say set a goal, write it down, and make it visible. So make the goal, have a goal in place, have an endpoint. Every time I've like gone into these cycles of binge eating and being in this really bad place mentally and not having a good relationship with food is when I haven't had any kind of like clear structure or goal in my life. We're taking this from a point of view that, okay, you want to lose weight, you need to lose weight, whatever it is, you want to drop some weight, but you struggle to because of binge eating. And it's like, you're never going to get to the place you want to be if you don't have like necessity to do so. If you have no necessity, you have no motivation. So set a clear goal, have an endpoint to that goal, make the goal measurable. So for example, track your weight using a weight tracker, using scales, like write your weights down, track your food if you're into fitness and tracking macros and other things, and have like a goal and the end date for that goal. Write it down, put it somewhere obvious on a sticky note, put it somewhere clear where you're gonna see it every day so it's visible. Set a goal, make it clear, work towards it. And number 4, plan your meals. And this is another one that comes under that scope of making it visible. If you are always naturally gonna follow the path of least resistance. So when trying to lose weight, when trying to make a change, when trying to incorporate these healthier habits, quite often we have these bad habits, these things that we don't like, just because they're so much easier and it's the path of least resistance for us. So if you plan your meals, if you pre-prepare your meals, if you have healthy meals already set out, then you're far less likely, or you've got no excuse to go down the shops and start eating chocolate and other things, which is going to send you on this like downward spiral, this dopamine feedback loop, because you feel bad that you've cheated on your diet. There's a military saying, and it's proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. So prepare and you will perform better. Negative visualization, this is something that's in accordance with Stoic philosophy, or what Stoics used to do, and it's like, imagine something negative. So we want to make it, to break this habit, we want to make the habit unattractive. And the way we can do that is by negatively visualizing things associated with this habit. So take a minute to reflect and like be mindful of, think about, okay, how overweight you're gonna get, how fat you're gonna get, how unhealthy you are, what all this food is doing to your insides, these digestive issues that you're having. Like negatively visualize everything that you're missing out on, all the things that you could be but you aren't, because you've got this issue, because you are binge eating. Like if I am to eat this food, if I am to order a pizza right now at this very second, I'm fucking hungry, I haven't eaten in hours. Yeah, it'll feel good for a minute, but then my sleep's gonna be disrupted because I have digestive problems. I'm gonna probably fart and it's gonna smell absolutely disgusting. I'm going to Spain this weekend. I'm gonna be fat for Spain. I'm gonna be watery. My skin's probably gonna get spotty because I'm eating all this greasy food. So it's like really, really negatively visualize the things that are gonna happen if you do this thing and make it unattractive. Positively visualize what good will come if you don't succumb to these cravings, if you don't binge eat, if you stick to your diet, if you eat well, if you eat normally, whatever your goal is, whatever it is, think about how good it's gonna feel. Think about how good you're gonna look. Think about all the opportunities that could come your way. Think about all the things that could happen, like meeting people, confidence, etc., etc. How like nice it'll be just to wake up without having stomach issues, without like screwing up your sleep because eating late disrupts your sleep, etc., etc., etc. How much better you feel in yourself. And remember those times you've eaten well, you've like adhered to a diet, you've eaten healthily, and how you felt, and positively visualize that, and that is going to be incredibly powerful. This is quite a big one for a lot of people, and that's mindfulness and being mindful and just being able to acknowledge your thoughts and your feelings, the way that you feel and other things. Because like us men especially, if we feel a certain way, if we feel emotional, if we feel stressed, if we feel anxious, we're not inclined to speak about it. Like it's just like, I know there's an element of masculinity that's a good thing, that revolves around strength and other things, but it's like you're lying to yourself if you're anxious, if you're stressed, if you feel like you want to binge eat, if you're like, oh bro, like I don't feel very good. There's a book called Never Split the Difference, and it talks about this thing called labeling. For example, if I'm stressed, I might say to my friend, if we're together, like, oh, I'm feeling really anxious or I'm feeling really stressed. Rather than repressing it, expressing it, and this is like psychological premise, expressing it and talking about the way that you feel and how you feel, like your emotional state actually takes the power away from that emotion. So if we say like we're stressed, we feel like binge eating, whatever it is, if you actually speak to someone about it, more often than not, they're going to give you good advice. Number two is it's going to take away the power that emotion has over you. But if you push it down, if you ignore it, it's going to build up and up and up and up and up and up, and it's going to get worse. It's get to a point where it basically explodes, and then you're gonna like go off the rails and binge eat. So express, don't repress. Change your environment. So like I said, stress, anxiety is a trigger to binge eating. It's a trigger to this. It's a trigger to this spiral of negativity, of feeling not good, of eating food and then getting into this undulating cycle. Stress and anxiety is the trigger. If we're doing work, if we're sat at a desk, if we've got a problem that we can't overcome, change your environment, man. Like disrupt the state, like change your state. Go to the gym, play an instrument, go for a walk, get out of your current environment and those stress. When I'm stressed, when I'm anxious, what I'll do is I'll go mix, I'll go play guitar, I'll do something that will chill me out, that'll put my brain into a different state and make me focus on something different. And then when I've stopped, I'm like, oh, like what was I so stressed about? It's all chill. Eat real food, man. Eat real food. I touched on this one already briefly, but like I said, prepare your meals, eat whole, solid, good foods. You don't have to go on some like crazy vegan, organic, gluten-free, whatever it is diet. Just every meal, portion of fruit and veg. It's gonna add volume, it's gonna add fiber, it's gonna fill you up, it's gonna be good for you, it's gonna sort out your digestion. Like you should not be having digestive issues, period, at all. Portion of protein, like a high quality source of protein. Again, it's gonna fill you up, it's gonna build muscle, it's gonna get your body composition looking fine and good. And I found as well that like a lot of the time when I get into these states of binge eating, this negative downward spiral, that I'm not having sufficient protein in my meals, because then I'm not feeling full afterwards. Try and avoid hyper palatable foods. They're hyper palatable because they've literally been engineered to be ultra tasty. So in your brain, you're gonna get like a massive hit of dopamine when you have those sweets. You have that incredibly sugary thing, and you know what does that. You know the things that are gonna like set you off and put you down that path and make you more inclined to binge eat. So almost like keep it a bit bland or a bit boring. I find that when my diet is like pretty monotonous and pretty like minimal in terms of like, okay, I'll have like some barbecue sauce and stuff every now and then, but if I'm just eating like chicken and rice, like I'll make curries and other things, but not having like super sweet takeaways all the time and eating snacks and sweets, even if it fits my diet, I find that I appreciate food a lot more, and I really enjoy it a lot more because of that monotony, and I'm less inclined to binge eat because I'm keeping things pretty like zen and level. Basically, eat fucking spiritually enlightened food. Number 10, this is from a book called The Idiot Brain, which is basically about a neuroscientist who writes various things about the brain and why you're an idiot and why your brain is an idiot. And number 10 is stay accountable. So in terms of goals, tell people about your goals. Tell as many people as you can, tell people what you're gonna do. I think it's a good thing to like almost like brag about things. Not brag, but just tell people your plans and kind of what you're gonna do and where you're gonna be and when you're gonna do it by, so you have some kind of accountability. But the best thing that you can do is get a coach. If you wanna get good at something, get a coach. Like for music, I have a coach. I have someone that mentors me, someone that gives me feedback, someone that I can stay accountable to. And there's this thing called the hawthorn effect. And when we're being observed, when we know that someone's watching us, when we know that there's eyes on us, our behavior changes. We will generally perform better when we know that there are eyes on us and that people are watching us. It's called the hawthorn effect. if we've got a coach and we're getting coached and we've got to report back to the coach with our weights and our diets and what we've eaten and other things, due to the hawthorn effect, we're much more likely to adhere. And being a fitness coach myself, I can tell you firsthand that the clients that fill out their coaching sheets every single day versus the clients that leave it all to the end of the week and fill it all out at once, the ones that fill it out every single day, without a doubt, over about 20, 30 clients, do far better and get far better results because they, in the back of their mind, they know that they're being observed, they know that they're being watched, and they have far superior adherence. Stay accountable, get a coach, tell people about your goals. If you can't get a coach, whatever it is you're doing, track your weight, because then it's you're still staying accountable to yourself. You're writing it down. What gets measured gets managed, but just stay accountable. And the main thing is like keep these things in the forefront of your mind, like all these things I've talked about, like the positive things, make it very visual, make it obvious, and be mindful of what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Those are my top 10 things that I found the most useful when overcoming binge eating and getting my life back on track and getting out of the horrible, dreadful rut that is like binge eating and feeling guilty and feeling horrible and being bloated and full and like feeling crap with myself. That's the 10 biggest things that I found to help me. And it's like anything. You chip away at it, marginal gains a little bit every single day, you will improve, you will get better. Comment down below if you've got any other tips for overcoming binge eating, things that you found have helped, things that you found have not helped. Where are you at? What have you done that has helped you? Yada, 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 yada. And I will give one of the comments in the comment section down below a copy of Atomic Habits because it is an absolutely fantastic book. Peace out. I love you to bits. Thank you. Good night.